Hello everybody, and welcome to this video. Cassie Brown here. I'm here to show you today how to make tulips, and I'm using air drying clay. This is an arrangement that I put together, and I will do several videos, one with the tulips, one with the leaves, and then I'll talk about colouring and different methods of colouring as well. So I just wanted to show you the finished product, which is all of this here. I'm very proud of it. I think it looks lovely. So I'm going to put that to one side carefully. Everything's moving, but that's okay. We'll put that over there so you can still see it. I love tulips. I love the movement of them and the way they still grow when you put them in the vase after cutting them. I think that's quite amazing, to be honest. But let's get down to work, showing you what I'm going to be using today. Now, if you make sugar flowers, you're probably using flour paste. You can use exactly the same technique, so you can still watch this video all the way through. It'll still show you everything you need to know. But I will be using Modena today. Now, this is an air drying clay and it's got polymer. It's a polymer clay with resin in it. So lovely clay. And then this one is the Artista Soft. Look out for new packaging, it's on its way. But that is a very brilliant white clay. So I mixed the two together. So let's explain that to start with. We get the clay ready. Here's some that I've got open. Now I always tuck them in so that you're not going to get any dryness, hopefully. So let's pull some out. There we are. Actually that bit's fine as well. So there's our clay to start with. You need to warm it up. It's a little bit cold today, so just warm it up in your hands like so. It's absolutely fine. Always tuck your packet in itself and fold it over tight. You can put an elastic band around it, put it in a container, but you want it to be airtight. If it's not airtight, then it will dry out, so just be careful. Be aware of that. So this is Modena on its own. Now, if I was to make Modena flowers, just using this and not adding any colour, this is what I'm going to end up with. This beautiful one here. So as you can see, it's a little bit opaque. Now, when I use the Artista Soft on its own, I end up with this one. So hopefully you can see the difference there between the two clays. So Modena, Artista Soft. We're going to mix them together to make a nice sort of medium white, if you like. That is the plan. So we've got our Modena ready. Let's dive in here to get a little bit of Artista Soft. Now, I'm not going to do loads. It depends how you're feeling on the day, now your hands are working really. I get pain in my hands, so sometimes it's a 50-50 mix. Sometimes it's a 20-80 mix. It depends how I feel. It really, really does. So the plan is, I think we don't really need all this white. I think roughly that's a good mix. So this is Modena, this is Artista Soft. But as I say, see how you feel on the day really, as to how you mix them. Again, just cover your paste, make sure it's covered up, and I'll put it somewhere safe. Right, let's mix these two together. So if I put that on there actually and just show you, you can see the Modena and then the difference with the Artista Soft on top. You can see how white the Artista Soft is. Now, if you haven't got Artista Soft and you're just using Modena, you can always add some white paint, some white food colouring, your white food dusts. That all works absolutely fine. But I just think it's easier to mix the two together. And I think actually it's a little bit more pliable to work with. So do what suits you. There's no wrong way of mixing these together. Now, when I first mix them, it does go a little bit sticky, especially as I said it was cold earlier. It is warming up quite nicely. So let's just mix them together. Now, I'm not planning to edit this video, so hopefully I'll get it all right for you. If I do go wrong, then I will show you how to put it correct. I think that's the best way of you guys learning, hopefully. And that's what I plan to do going forward with a lot of my videos now. So, and I hate editing, to be honest. So there's our white, perfect. Now I have already coloured some green and some brown. Those are the colours that I'm going to need. Now this green is a little bit bright, so I'm going to take a little bit of that and the same amount of white. Can you see that? And then I'm going to mix them together because I want quite a pale sort of green for this particular thing. So this is for the stamens in the middle. Okay, you can see how that has really whitened that up lovely. So that's what we're going to be using. Now I've got a little baby bottle lid. Always use them, I think they're really good. Put all your paste underneath and it just keeps them protected, really stops it from drying out. So it's quite nice. Okay, so we are going to start. I'm going to put everything under there to start with. And let's talk about wires. So we need a 28 gauge wire. So on here I have my numbers. This is my little storage for wires. It's so good. So we're going to need 2 of these. So 2 lengths of 28 gauge wire. So let's do the stamens to start with. Now this length of wire, or wires, I'm going to cut into 3. And I'm kind of roughly guessing this. I haven't measured it out. So now we have 6 wires altogether. That's going to be for our stamen. So let's do that little bit first. Now what we need to do, a little bit of green paste, tiny amount. I think I've probably got too much here, if I'm honest. I've got a little bit of water here, so I'm just going to dip the end of the wire in there. You don't want it soaking wet, you just want it a little bit damp. It'll just help to hold this into place. Now I'm rolling a sausage, and I'm carefully pushing the sausage in to the wire lengthways, and then we're rolling it down. So if I just get my toolkit, you'll see what I'm doing. Okay, what we want to do is thin that down the wire. So I use my finger and my thumb and I give it a little twiddle, and this is making it go thinner as we work down the wire. So it's one of those techniques, it takes a little practice, but once you've got this, it's well worth learning, because there's lots of other things you can do with this, as well as making stamens. Okay, so see that little bit on top? We don't want that, so we'll just pull that away. And this is too long, so give it about 1 inch, and then I just remove the paste from the bottom. We don't want that bit as well. Now I'm going to put it on the board, just give a little rub gently. What this is doing is evening it all out, and it's making it all the same length and the same thickness all the way down. So let me show you that. There we go. Okay, so that's the start of our stamen. Now we're going to go to the brown. We need a little bit of brown. How much is this? I'm trying to think how to tell you in measurements. It's tiny. About 2 mil, little ball. So not very big at all. We're going to roll it into a sausage. Like so. You'll see that? I know it's very tiny. Let me bring it up to the camera so you can see. And then we're going to squash that down, just gently. Now make sure it's not sticking, so just move it to make sure it's not sticking. But so far it's a little sausage that we've squashed down. Now, I've been using this lately, what we normally put glue with at school, but really nice for just cutting. I'm not cutting through, but I just want to make an indent. So I'm finding this quite useful, because I've been getting a bit heavy-handed with the scalpel and cutting all the way through. That's quite nice. So I've been doing that, and then we're going to turn it over. So flip it over. We go to our wire, dip in water. Now we just want the end to be just slightly damp, and then I'm pushing it on. So again, let me just lift this to show you. Can you see there? And can you see it's at an angle as well? Now I'm just going to perfect that a little bit. So I'm just squeeze. Oh, it's fell off. A little bit of water again. And we pop him on. There we are. So he needs a bit of encouragement to stay on, this one does. It is strange because it's at an odd angle, but it works. There we are. So if I show you that on there, can you see how that's now at an angle against that wire. Okay, so we need 6 of those. I'm not going to make 6, but you can now stop the video and make the others. So you've got 6 of those all together. Now once you've got those, we need to have what they call the piston. Pistil. Yes, let's get it right. I'll be told off, won't I? You'll all be commenting. So, it's because the boys are into motorbikes, so I've got motorbike engines going through my head. Okay, so now we need, I'm going to say about a pea size, maybe a petit pois pea, nice and small, not too big. We get that, and again, roll into a ball, into a sausage. It's now about 1/2 centimetre in thickness. And I'm going to get a wire. Let me just check which one it is. That one. So I've got a 26 gauge wire. Again, just pop into the water, not too much. You can put a little hook on the end if you wish. It's entirely up to you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends what mood I'm in, I think. Okay, so our sausage on our stick. Now I'm going to put my fingers close to the top, and we need to just push down so I can actually feel the top of the wire right at the end. And then I'm squeezing down to make this section thinner. So give it a gentle little squeeze, exactly the same as how we did the last one. And we come down. We want it to be about 1 inch long. So work down a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit too long, so I'm going to just nip it off about there. Again, put any spare paste underneath your little container. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. Now we need to get tweezers. If you haven't got tweezers, you can use your little wire cutters. Just don't cut all the way through. It's just to make that indent. That's all we're doing. And what we need to do, we're going to come right to the top, and I need to make 3 little sections. So there's one. Let me come right close so you can see it. Is it going to focus just on that one? And then we move around and do number 2, and then the last one comes together, number 3. Now remember, we want this to be flat, so just give it a little push down if it doesn't want to do as it's told. And then I'm just gonna make it a little bit more precise. There we are. So that's the center. Now they have got little lines in them. You can use your scalpel for this. I am just going to be using this little tool again, just to do 3 little lines coming from the center out. Now, I'm not sure if you can pick that up or focus on it, but that's what we've ended up with. So this is the center. Now I would leave these, once you've done this and the stamens, put them all to one side to dry. That's what I would recommend for you. And then we can go on to the petals. Right, looking forward to showing you the petals. So a little bit of Trex, and I have already rubbed my board with a little bit of Trex. Well, Trex or petal base, whichever you prefer using. You can see it's just white. Sometimes Trex can be a bit greasy, but it's whatever works for you. Some people just use corn flour. I personally prefer this particular method. Okay, so I'm rubbing it in my hands. It's already on my board because I've been doing a bit of work this morning. So we've got our veiner. There's lots of different veiners on the market. This is a really nice one I like using, and this one here. You can see they're beautiful. So I'm going to use this one today just because I've done the prep ones using this particular one. The cutter that I'm using, now I've got this lovely set of cutters, and they're like the tall rose petals. I'm going to be using number 5. You can go bigger if you want to, because it would fit in there. But I think number 5 is quite a nice size. So that's those. Now we go to the white. Now I'm going to show you how to make one petal. I've already got some made. So again, we soften the paste, get it working. If you don't do this, I find that the paste can crack. So if you get it straight out of the packet and start rolling, it will start cracking and it won't behave itself. So Always warm it up a little bit in your hands first. Get the paste working. So get it nice and warm. Roll into a ball and then into a sausage. Now you can see there's quite a lot of paste here, but I'm going to squash it down. There's my rolling pin. I've already got a little bit of Trex on the rolling pin as well. Now we push down and roll out from the centre. We do the same on the other side. I always lift to make sure it's not sticking, and then do that again, just a few times. And then if I show you, can you see that nice ridge? And it goes all the way through the centre. Now what I'm going to do is roll the ridge halfway out, so it gets rid of it. There we are, and then I'm perfecting it a little bit more. Now I'm not going too thin with this, but the ridge is for the wire. Now I always make the ridge thicker than it needs to be so that it holds the wire and you don't want the wire to poke out. And then the petal, we're going to be working with that and thinning it out afterwards. So it hasn't got to be as super thin as I would normally go. Just a little bit thinner. There we are. Okay, now we get our petal. Let me just show you what that looks like. And we've got our cutter, which is going that way. So this is going over that ridge. My wire's going to go about halfway. Press down, give a little wiggle. And then the excess from the outside should just come off straight away. And then we are left with our petal shape. And as you can see, our nice bit for our wire is going through the centre. Now, I'm using a 26 gauge wire. Again, just a little bit of water on the end, not too much. And then we push that into the ridge. So I'm holding the ridge with my finger and my thumb, and I'm gently pushing the wire in. Now it's quite a thick ridge because I don't want it to come out. And I'm not pushing down too much because I'm going to let the veiner do most of the work for me, hopefully. So that is ready to go. That's on the wire, it's not going to come off. And then we come to our veiners. Now, I personally find, can you see the Trex I've got on my finger there? It's really important to massage this into the veiner. It will help you to release afterwards, release the flower paste or modelling paste, whatever you're using. Modena paste I'm using. It's been a long day already. Okay, so we put that around. Make sure we are getting in all the little nooks and crannies, but don't put too much. So I'm kind of putting it on and then wiping it off. Then we place that inside. So that is then ready to be veined. Now we get the outer one, and again, exactly the same thing. Just make sure it's all covered with a little bit of Trex. Now you can use corn flour, that's absolutely fine. Use whatever you're used to using, really. I've switched from corn flour to Trex because I'm doing a lot more detailed work. I find sometimes the corn flour sits in some of the veins and you don't get the full effect. So I am preferring this at the moment. But like I've said to you, I change my mind like the weather, so you never know. Okay, so once that's all covered, we're going to place that on top. Now, you can use your fingers, but it encourages arthritis. So use the bulk of your hand here, the pad, and just press down gently. And then, big reveal, hopefully it's worked. Okay, the top piece comes off nicely. Now we're just going to give it a little squeeze and a little move. Is it going to come up? Give it a little squeeze all the way around. This helps to just move it. Can you see inside how it's all coming away? And then we can lift it gently. It's worth taking your time with this. If you just ripped it out, you might rip your paste. So be very careful. But there is our veined petal, which I think looks lovely. Okay, now this is where the fun starts. All of your petals are going to come out roughly looking like that, but this is where you add your unique twist. You're going to hold it in your hands you're going to get the rolling pin. Now you can use a ball tool. I always use the end of my rolling pin personally. Now I'm not pulling it against the paste, I'm going to roll the rolling pin. And I start just inside and then I'm rolling down. And can you see how that immediately wants to cup? And this is what we do with this one, because we want it to create a lovely form and a shape of its own. All these little bits, it's lovely to just get them curling as well. So we do this all the way around. So I'm not thinning the edges out. I never do that. Not with this particular tulip. I would do on other flowers. But this one I'm really focusing on bulking this out and getting that lovely, kind of like a shell cup shape, which is another video, by the way. Nice shell shape. Okay, I hold that, you can see it better. And you can see it's taking its own shape straight away, which is lovely. Now what we're going to do is give it a little pinch here, because this is where it's going to be joining the other wires on the stem. So we don't want that to be too thick and bulky. And then I have a little piece of foam. Now you can see there's some petals already on there. They're already drying. So this one's going to join the club, and I tend to just put it hanging over a little bit. This is the one I've just done. So it's just hanging over and it's forming that really nice shape. I think that looks lovely. Okay, we need 6 of those. So if you're making this with me, you need to stop the video, churn out another 5. So you've got 6 petals all together. Now I'm going to move on and wire, because I've done preparation and I've got everything ready. So we need to go back to the stamens, and I have the stamens and the little pistil already there, look. So we need to wire these together. Now I'm using green florist tape, and it's that nice moss green. It's a little bit pale, but it's lovely. So I'm going to get scissors and I'm going to cut it half width. Now the reason for this, if you use full width tape, it's going to bulk up your stems too much. So use half width tape. I mean, it also goes twice as far as well, but it's really nice for getting a nice thin stem. Okay. There we go. So that's now nice and ready. I put that down. Now then, if it wants to stick to you, and that may happen, get yourself a little bit of corn flour. Just put corn flour on your fingers. That will just help it to do its own thing. Now the stamens. Can you remember they had that slight little slant on them? The slant is coming out and down. So we line them all up ready. They are going to twist around, so this is something you need to take your time with. I say making the stamens you can do while you're sitting watching telly, actually. It's a bit boring, but when you come to putting them together, you do need to be tuned in a little bit more. So the 6 stamens are lining up and going around. Now I'm trying to get them the same height. We hold them. Now you can wire each one individually if you prefer. It's whatever works better for you. I just think get it all over and done with in one go, because I know they're all going to move. So we wrap the tape around and then squeeze with our fingers. Now what the squeezing's doing, it's helping the glue stick to itself, because this tape is weird stuff. It's not sticky on its own. We have to stretch to release the glue, and then it will only stick to itself. So we make sure we give it a good squeeze and turn. There we are. Now, as I said, if it's not sticking, a little bit of corn flour. Sorry, if it is sticking, and then we work all the way down to the end. Perfect. Okay, and actually, surprisingly, they haven't moved that much. If I just show you, that's not too bad. Sometimes they'll all go to one side. I do need to just give them a little shuffle. So I'm just making sure they haven't turned around too much. Just making them just a little bit more in the right shape, the right area. So So they've twisted a little bit. There we are. Can you see that? So now that is ready for our wonderful petals. Okay, this for me is the best bit, putting the petals on, because you see your creation starting to come together, which I always find very exciting. And they always take their own shape and form as well. I personally always think that two flowers never look the same when I create them, which is amazing. I mean, as you can see, that one's got a split in it, that one hasn't. It all makes it look more realistic and natural, which is lovely. Now I'm going to look at these petals. I've put them all on their back, and I'm seeing which ones are curved up. So the one with the split, that's definitely going to go to the back. And I think that's a nice big one that can go to the back. And that one can go to the back. So I've got 3 inner petals, 3 outer petals. So what we're going to do, bend the wire just a little bit there, and then we're going to place that wire right under here where the stem is, where you started taping those. So the tape is going to go exactly the same place. And I tend to put the tape on just to hold that one in place first, and then I will put the next ones. So these are the 3 inner petals. So 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, mine are dry. Sometimes it's nice to have them dry. Sometimes it doesn't quite work because you can't move them quite as well if they're a little bit wet, but I work with them like that. So that's the 3 inner petals. Now you can start taping all the way down at this point. I tend to just go for it and start adding my next petals, if I'm honest with you. So, and these are going just outside of the ones we've just done. Now remember to give them a squeeze, make sure they're really, the tape is doing the work for you. And try and keep them all very level and even as you're going round. But like I said, every one that you do of these, they will all turn out differently. And then we keep taping. So can you see I'm trying to get them nice and level? I don't want any wires showing up here. Now if there is a few wires showing, you can always pull them down, but try to avoid that if you can. Now I'm squeezing with my fingers to get that nice and tight as I work my way down. And then we're covering all of those wires all the way to the bottom. There we go. Now, as you can see, it already kind of takes on its own form, doesn't it? Which I think is beautiful. But you can tinker with that. You can get it a little bit more precise. You might want it more open. You might want it more closed. You mess around with it. I think they look lovely. I think that one looks really nice. It looks like it's just ready to drop those petals. So there we are. That is the parrot tulip. Not too frilly, not too crazy, but I think it looks lovely. And like I've said, we can do it more closed if we want to. Just gently bring them up. Not too enthusiastic because you might lose petals if you do. But there we are. I think that's lovely. In fact, I like that shape. You can mess around with this until you're happy with the shape that it forms. And there we are. That is our parrot tulip. And these are the others that I have done, ready to go in the arrangement. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please tune into Patreon, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and look on my website, cassiebrown.com. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this little lesson. Please look out for the rest of it. See you soon. Thank you.